Hiya!
Hi.
I actually feel all right saying hiya because this is the first time we've spoken today.
It is by real voice anyway.
Yeah, even though I've been sat here for the last 10 minutes waiting for you like a right goon.
Yeah, but you said then on that message that you'd sent me a text message, but I ain't got one.
It's in Telegram.
Oh.
It just says, still on for 1:30, question mark, blanked, ghosted.
Well, you should have rang me, you dipstick.
I know, I should have done, to be fair. It wasn't like a very explicit, I'm here waiting for you.
I know.
Well, how have you been? You had
I've been all right
last night,
since
didn't you?
you are.
You had some weird dreams last night.
Oh my gosh, I actually did have the weirdest dreams. And I expect anybody listening now thinks I'm going to come out with this drinking dream that I had. But I
No, she's
didn't.
not. She's called now Lisa Doolittle.
Honest to God, I dreamt that these animals were talking to me, but it wasn't weird. Like I was just having full conversations with a guinea pig, a dog, and a cat.
A guinea
But
pig.
like,
Love the fact. I get the cat and the dog because you've got one of them. Where did the guinea pig come from?
I don't know, in my dream, I thought it was going to be a mouse, and I went through the fear of watching it come under the carpet, and then it popped up, and I went, "Oh, you're a guinea pig! I'm scared of them." And then I went through the fear of picking it up and stroking it, and just then the cat came over to like have a look, and I was like, "No, no, don't do anything." And the cat was like, "No, I just wanted to say hi. I've not seen the guinea pig for ages." Anyway, moving swiftly on.
That is really funny, but it wasn't as funny to you, in it, was it?
No.
Which is even weirder. I am actually. I've got some helpline numbers that I will forward you later.
Thank you. I can't believe you've made me discuss a bit of a dream, right? Because honestly, I think it's the worst thing ever having to listen to people's dreams. And this morning, I actually said to you, "Oh, I had a weird dream." We must have spoke today.
Oh yeah, we must have done on the phone. That's weird.
Oh, we speak too much that we don't even know it. But yeah, I'd said to you this morning, I had a weird dream last night, and you said, "Oh, what was it about?" And I was really surprised because when people said to me, "I had a dream last night," I literally start getting all agitated and think, "Oh, please don't be a long one. Please don't be a long one."
You always tell me about your dreams. I don't even know if you know that, but you do it a lot. You tell me about dreams.
What a boring person I've turned out to be.
Hang on a minute, who's more boring? You that's telling him or me that's going, "Ooh, what was it about?"
Fair point, fair point.
I do like dreams though. I really like them. You know, I was telling somebody yesterday, one of the first signs that I'm pregnant, when I've been pregnant, all 5 times has been, and I've known, obviously I didn't know first time because I didn't realize it was a thing, but dreams.
Really?
Yeah, like straight after I must have got pregnant, before I'd even get a positive pregnancy test, I'd have really vivid, weird dreams, but definitely not about talking to guinea pigs.
No, that is a bit weird. I always think there's something in dreams, like that they mean something. So they do quite interest me a little bit, to try and figure out what's going on or what my inner thoughts or anxieties are when I look. But genuinely, I don't know why I was talking to animals.
I kind of get the talking to animals, even though that's never happened to me. But talking to a guinea pig is the weird bit.
Maybe I need to look at what a guinea pig means. Like, what is the meaning of dreaming about a guinea pig? I'll have a
No,
look.
I think it's more than that. I think it's that when you can't see something, like you thought it was a mouse because you couldn't see it because it was moving along the carpet.
Yeah, I was scared.
Yeah, but then when you were faced with it, you were able to pick it up and talk to it and deal with it. I think that's about like facing your fears.
Alex, that's a really good analyzation.
I love that you just realise you don't know what the word is there.
Analyzation.
Yeah,
Anyway, really well at analysing.
it was a good analyze. I can't even say the word you've made up. That's 'cause it's not in the dictionary. Good word, but yeah, dreams. Yeah, usually it's better than talking about the weather like I do.
Oh no, you do like a good chat about the weather, don't you?
Well, do you know what it is? I don't even like it, and I know it's a weird thing to say. Like when people don't have conversation, they go, "Oh, what's the weather like?" It's just like a really bad habit. I go, oh, what's the weather like there? And then I think, why have you asked that question, you dick?
Did you used to do it when you got in taxis? Like, oh, have you been busy tonight?
Oh, yeah, all the time. You finishing soon? You're knocking off soon? Has it been busy? What time are you finishing? I bet
What time are you on till?
No, shut up, will you? What do you care? You're never ever going to remember who I was, where I took you to, or what you were doing. Which, by
You know what? Sorry, Alex. Do you think that sometimes comes from a fear of silence and trying to fill them gaps? That's something that I've been learning, you know, I've started my meditation classes again, and this really weird thing happens at the end of my meditation classes, right?
no, this weird, really weird thing happens at the start of your meditation classes, let alone at the end.
Why?
That there's classes that do these kind of things. You know what I'm like? I can't.
Oh, I love my meditation classes. It's just like, I actually make a full effort for my meditation class. I set up my laptop in my motorhome on the drive. I like joss sticks, I get the smell right, I get the lighting right, and then I leave the house to go and do it. So it really feels like I'm going into this kind of sacred space, and I love it. But what I've found, and this used to happen in the real life classes, and I'm finding that it happens on the Zoom classes, and it freaks me right out. And it is silence. It's that whole being quiet. So like the meditation teacher will come on and she'll be like, hi everybody, hi Lisa, hi so and so, and then everybody says hi, and then nothing. Literally nothing. No noise, right?
Do you think everybody's sitting there thinking who's going to speak next?
Well, because I went to the classes from the beginning, I always remember saying, like early on, when you go up, try and sit in the silence, be mindful about it. And it was so abnormal to me, because I am that person when you used to be waiting for a bus that would be like, hi, oh, look at the weather, like what we just said.
I had a dream about a guinea pig last night.
Yeah, I would, because I'm so uncomfortable around silence. So if she'd have never have told me that on that day, and it had never stuck in my head, I would think it was the weirdest thing ever, and I'd be more anxious about it. But because she did, I kind of sit there and I'm really aware of my thoughts. And then I have a little look at people and think, are they saying no, they don't look nervous, they're all quiet. So I'm practicing just being really quiet, and it's quite interesting, actually. It's weird. And then it happens at the end, and then she'll say, okay, so if nobody's got anything to say, then you know we'll finish with such a thing. So silence is part of obviously you're silent in the meditation, but you're meditating, so you know you're silent then. But when you're all awake and looking at each other, like, it's weird.
Yeah, I'd struggle. I struggle I think I talk in my sleep. I talk that much.
I definitely do.
You do weird things in your sleep from what you've told me. See what I mean? You're always talking about your bed habits.
You're right. I shouted Ben once, you know, his bedroom's next to me, and I must have been conscious of the walls. And I shouted him, and he was like on the phone to his girlfriend at the time, so she heard it as well. And I was like fully asleep going, Ben, and he was like, what? And I went, stop eating the walls. And I clearly remember I dreamt that he was eating the inside of the cavities in the walls, and that's why I could hear everything.
You probably just could hear too much of the mumbling, and it was disrupting your sleep and stuff.
Yeah, so weird.
You know what my dad did once, and it proper makes me laugh. This, my mum told me. She said he was probably drunk, to be fair, but she said she woke up in the middle of the night and he was stood in like a funny position on the end of the bed, and he was stood on the edge of the bed. And she said then he started swinging his arms and actually dived off. He must have thought. He must have thought he was in the swimming pool. He actually dived off the bed head first onto the floor.
That's ridiculous. That's like that time when my ex-husband, I woke up and he was sat on me with his pants round his ankles. Like, I've heard of peeing in the wardrobe, right? But it actually was, so he must have stood on the bed to sit on me and had his pants round his ankles, and I woke up.
Oh, Lisa, honest to God, that's like proper funny. It is proper funny. That's the second time we've talked about him nearly pooing on you in this.
That's so disgusting. Imagine if he'd have actually done a poo. Oh, I'd have been devastated. Blech. I'd have been so devastated.
Your marriage would have ended a bit sooner. Look on the bright side.
I can't believe it didn't end there and then.
Oh. You know what else I can't believe, and this is completely changing the subject, but I think it's needed, is that you've only just watched Thelma and Louise last night.
I know, thank you for that recommendation, Alex. Yeah, you know, like obviously I've heard of Thelma and Louise, and I'm not a movie watcher. We've spoke about that before. I find it really difficult to actually sit and watch films. So when you recommended it last night, I went and put my phone upstairs so I could sit and watch it, and I actually really, really enjoyed it.
Does it remind you of us?
Oh, absolutely. Just the fact that one of them's in trouble, so they're both in trouble. And then even at the end, because I've been so down this week, I proper contemplated like driving off a cliff with you.
Well, I did suggest it. That's what I said. Don't leave me here on my own. I'm telling you.
No, we're going together. We're definitely going together.
We have had a weird week, haven't we? We actually, if we're honest, this is the second attempt at a podcast, and so far, this one will go out. But we did record a full podcast yesterday, and we both came away from it saying, this is awful. We're not going to be able to release an episode this week. And it wasn't the content of it. It was just, I feel better today. I must do.
Yeah.
Conversation, but the whole tone of it just wasn't us, was it?
Oh, we were like two negative ninnies. And I know it's all right to be, you know, we need to practice what we preach here about sitting with your feelings. And, you know, it's all right that we are human and we do have negative days. But honestly, if anybody had listened to that, they'd have been like, oh, well, thanks for that, girls. Cheers. I'm just going to go and like,
get in the back of your car and you're driving off the cliff. Yeah, we would have dragged a lot of people down. And the thing is, there's nothing to really feel bad about. It's just that we feel a bit stuck, don't we, with the way the world is and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's difficult. And I think, like we said, we know we're not on our own with this. And I think if we can just bring a little bit of positivity and happiness to people when they are feeling stuck, because it is a mad... It's just shit, yeah. It's so shit. And if you know what, if you've got through today and you're actually here listening to this, then massive well done, because it is shit. There's no doubt about it. So we've just got to try and do what we can, haven't we?
Yeah, I was on the park last night with my little boy who's 4, and one of his friends had come after school. So the mum and dad had both brought him, and I was chatting with them. And she said, oh, you'll have to come to the street and let him play on the street. So obviously I'm not allowed in a garden, not allowed. She said, you can stand on the drive and we'll have a drink. So I said, yeah. And honest to God, my mind didn't even go to alcohol. I just went, oh yeah. I said, I'll bring a flask of like cup of tea or whatever. And she was like, oh no, kind of an alcoholic one, right? So that's the first time I look like a dick, right? Because I'm going, oh yeah, I'll bring a mug of tea, right? Which is what I would do at 3:00 in the afternoon anyway. So I said, oh, I don't drink. Right. And like, she was like, oh, how does that work in lockdown? And I said, well, to be honest with you, I'm so glad I've been sober during lockdown, because I don't know how it doesn't work in lockdown. Like, I cannot imagine being in a house where I've got access and willingness to drink wine, because it'd have been awful for my kids. It'd have been awful for me. It'd have been awful for everybody. So I had this big chat with her and her husband about it. And, you know, he was saying, like, to get through that, it's incredible. It's amazing to be like that. They were dead respectful of it, dead lovely. I said, listen, I still have fun. I was like, still have fun. I still go out. Yes, I can still come places. If you want me to come, I can still come.
I can still do a headstand.
Yeah, I'll show you a headstand. Yeah, my people pleasing side coming out. Please invite me still.
Aww.
But it was really lovely, and it was nice to have that conversation with people who didn't know me and feel so confident in my sobriety.
And how lovely as well that they didn't judge it. You know, it's really nice that, because it does happen so much that we get judged by saying that we're not drinking. So how refreshing and lovely. I think things are changing.
Yeah, I mean, he was like particular. I mean, both of them were very respectful of it. Just like, oh, well done, it's brilliant, and all the rest of it. But he was very curious about it as well, and wanting to ask me about it. And then afterwards, I was like, I'm really sorry, I've done nothing but talk about masks and sobriety. You must think I'm a nutter.
They're like, yep.
Yeah, this is the opinionated one now. We're not meeting her. No, we said about coming to the driveway. Yeah, don't.
Yeah, you stick to the end of the street, love.
We'll see you in the park in a month. It was a bit like that, but yeah, it did get me thinking though, having those conversations. And I was talking about, like, I did that Makoa live the other day, and obviously it's coming up more and more for me. And I do feel, and we started to talk about this yesterday, and I think doing it slightly differently might be helpful. But the whole idea of labels and comparing yourself to other people and feeling stuck all the time, because by giving up drinking, you're admitting to being an alcoholic, and you don't want to be an alcoholic, and and what that label brings. And like I said on the live that I did, I actually looked up the definition of alcoholism and alcoholic, and it just means somebody who depends on alcohol, and that's all it means. Yet we're so scared of the word alcoholic.
We are scared of it because, and I know we speak about this a lot, and the kind of impression that we have of what an alcoholic is and what, and I think, do you think we've grown up with this? You see it on TV programs and films. The alcoholic is always like the scruffy old man drinking out of a paper bag. So like it's subliminal. Oh, we can't even say that.
At least she's not making words up though, subliminally.
Yeah, put into us from a very, very young age.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think there's two things to it. I think first of all, we are brought up believing, like you say, alcohol and alcoholic is, sorry, alcoholism and alcoholic.
Sorry, can I just say, this is why Alex does the lives, right? Because I can't ever find my words. I do the posts. Alex does the lives. I need that time to think and write properly. It doesn't just come to me naturally.
It does. You just don't, you sell yourself short. But yeah, no, alcoholism and being an alcoholic is so negatively painted, like you say. Why would you want to be that? But just that very, like, perception of it and the image and the stereotype of it is what keeps you there. Because all the time, and I did a post about this on my personal Instagram today, all the time you've got somebody, and I'm going to do this in like little air inverted commas, worse than you. Worse than you. There's always someone worse than you. So as long as you never get to that point, then you can't be that bad. We have created the stigma ourselves as a society.
That's a funny thing. Do you think we've done it to kind of protect ourselves? Like you say, it does stop us questioning our own drinking because we have our own version of what an alcoholic is. So for years and years and forever, I never thought I had a problem. In fact, it wasn't until I'd stopped drinking for even a very lot, like months and months and months, and then things started coming to me. The more I started reading about it, the more I started hearing about blackouts, the more I started remembering all the trouble I'd got myself into. Then I was like, oh, actually I have had a problem with drinking. And that didn't come until a good 6-7 months after stopping. I didn't stop because I thought I had a problem with drinking.
No, I know. And you stopped because you wanted to.
I stopped because I felt shit. I was sick of waking up rough all the time. I was sick of losing my weekends. I was sick of the anxiety and the dread that I would wake up with. I never ever realized that it was drink that was making me anxious all week. And then obviously at that time, I needed to be about. I needed to show up and be a parent. I was going through a marriage breakdown. My kids were going wild. So I stopped because it wasn't fitting in with what I needed to do as a parent. But it wasn't until months and months and months later that I looked back and thought, actually, you had a problem. You needed to stop, because the reason all this was going like it is because you were going out drinking and doing these things. So
because you had a problem.
Yeah. But I would never, ever sit there. And the thought of like going into a group like AA, I went with my ex-husband once, And before he loved to talk. He was a lot like me, really. So he couldn't wait for his turn to be like, "Hi, my name's so and so, and I'm an alcoholic." He loved it, and he loved saying it. Like for him, but I feel like he used it as he drinks again now. I spoke to him the other day, actually. In fact, yesterday.
Oh yeah, I've got a text message to remind you last night that you need to tell me about it.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm going to say it on here because he was actually saying to me about drinking, and he was asking how be sober we're going and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, it's really good, blah blah blah. And then he said, oh, even though I drink now, and I can't even believe he said it. He'll know one day when it starts going wrong again. He will know. He was like, I don't drink wine anymore because it made me feel really bad. And he's like, I had an oyster and that made me feel sick, so I'll never have oysters again because I was poorly off it. It's the same with wine. It's the same with stronger drinks. So I only drink weaker beers now. And I was like, oh my God, I've been through so many years of listening to this absolute bullshit of I only drink, I'm not drinking wine anymore. Like, have you forgot what you've been through? Have you forgot what we went through? Have you forgot? And it was really it was dead sad.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
He's fighting and going through that all the time.
He's just not ready yet, though, is it then?
No.
Because I did the same thing, for a long time. I cut out red wine because I believed it was red wine that made me into a psycho.
He's had that conversation though with you, do you remember when he first stopped and he was feeling amazing because it weren't just a little bit of trouble that we had with his drinking, so it made me dead sad. But yeah, he's had that conversation where we blame the drink and
and do you know what, it wasn't long till I could drink as much white wine to get me in the same state and as much beer to get me in the same state, nothing to do with the drink. It just was the level of alcohol in my blood would turn me into that person. So now you're saying, I do have a problem, or I did have a problem with alcohol. Do you still not think you were an alcoholic?
No, I can't say it. It freaks me out. It just does, which makes me mad. I'm mad at myself about this because so what if I was if somebody came to me and said I'm an alcoholic, I'd be the first one, to praise them, it takes so much courage and strength to say that. But I'm so frightened of being attached to that label because of what other people think. Right. I can't say it. What is up with me?
So is it the label that needs removing, or is it the image of what the label represents that needs dealing with?
This is it's obviously the image of what the label represents, isn't it? And the fact that when you see on TV programs where they go to AA, and they've built this thing up to say I'm an alcoholic, and it always ends the dum 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 at the end ends when they sit there and go, I don't know where I've seen this. I'm sure it's been on.
Sounded like EastEnders.
It did. I don't even watch television anymore, but that's surely not changed. But yeah, it always ends with that dum dum dum.
EastEnders. Dum dum.
Go on, do it. That's the wrong side for us anyway. We should have been doing Coronation Street ones. Yeah, that's how it always ends.
So let me just say this then, right? And I'm going to put this out there, that in order for us to truly, and I know we're not even there ourselves yet, but in order for us to truly help with removing the stigma around alcoholism, we either need to get rid of the label alcoholic altogether, because it's not you're not a heroinaholic or a tobaccoholic. Okay, so we either need
cakeaholic.
That and what?
A cakeaholic.
Oh yeah.
You are a shopaholic though.
And are you a sexaholic?
Oh, no chance.
I didn't mean you personally. But anyway, so we either need to get rid of the label alcoholic altogether. It goes. That's one way we could remove the stigma, because the name doesn't exist.
Yeah, but how do you get rid of that?
Well, you don't do. You just have to not say it. We just, everywhere we go, we just have to say, I'm alcohol dependent, alcohol dependent, alcohol dependent.
I don't even want to say that. I want to say none of your business, thanks.
or what we have to do is say, right, you know what? To be an alcoholic means somebody who's dependent on alcohol. if I look just at me, and I'm on about purely me now, did I depend on alcohol? Well, you know what? Yeah, I depended on it for fun. I depended on it to cry. I depended on it to socialize. I depended on it to cope with stress at the end of the day. So if being an alcoholic means somebody who uses alcohol to cope with life, then I'm going to put this out there that I was an alcoholic.
You know what? Right. Thinking about this, you know, when we've done our workplace presentations,
Yeah.
and the feedback we got, because once we got a bit like cocky with
Defensive.
this, didn't we? Yeah, defensive, cocky, whatever you want to call it. But we did a presentation and we kind of said this about drink, and we went out there and fully tried to remove this stigma.
Yep.
And what happened?
They said people are scared of that.
They didn't like it. They didn't like it because what they said, I think evangelical was even
Was evangelical? That's you, that wasn't me.
But what we did is we tried to kind of say anybody can be dependent if you're depending on that nightly glass of wine. And it actually scared the shit out of people that we were talking to. Yep. They didn't want to hear it. They did not, because they wanted to think that an alcoholic was that person pouring vodka on the cornflakes. When they wanted us in, they wanted a story of how we were alcoholics and we'd got our life back together. And what they got was actually we were dependent on alcohol. We were just like you. We were just like you. Nobody knew. We went into work. We had successful careers. We had lovely jobs. We absolutely did it. But what we did realise is we were dependent on alcohol, and they didn't like it. It scared them. They didn't want to know.
That's the truth.
It's freaking annoyed me now.
But because it's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you know what we actually need to do is just keep telling our truth. And if the dictionary alcoholic is one thing, well, I, for one, I'm actually going to explain it just like that. Alcoholic means this. Therefore, if you want to stick a label on me and define me, which you can or you, I don't give a shit. Stick a label on me if you want.
I won't be letting anybody stick a label on you.
But if people want to, if you want to ask me, was I an alcoholic? Yes, because you know what? An alcoholic is someone who depended on alcohol, and I did depend on alcohol. What I'm not going to have is somebody calling me a recovering alcoholic because I don't depend on alcohol anymore.
Oh, see, this is a whole new one now. Like being.
I'm not recovering now.
Being in recovery.
Yeah, you see, I don't feel like I'm in recovery. I feel like I'm in discovery.
Oh, I like it.
I do.
Discovery,
seriously.
Not recovery.
I feel like I did go through a period of recovery.
Yeah.
I feel like you stay. For me, I don't feel like I stayed in it. I recovered from the alcohol. I recovered from the mental health. And then I learned how to deal with myself and how to be myself. And I'm still learning. So I literally went from alcoholic, recovery, discovery. That's my new thing.
Boom.
Shakala.
Boom. Shakalaka. I love it. While we're talking about labels, should we move on to some other labels? Because I'm quite annoyed at labels.
Do you want to go for it then? Because I don't know what you want to talk about. Because the only label. Oh, can I just tell you something about labels?
Yeah.
This morning I did the entire workout with my leggings back inside out, and the label was hanging out. So
I love it. Luckily, that's only in our members only group. So if anybody wants to see that, they'll have to join us.
Hopefully they didn't notice it, but we'll see.
Oh, that's another story, right? Talking about things like that. When my ex-husband, again, he'd gone out all night, and in the morning I'd got up and his jeans were on the hallway floor, and the label, you know, where it says the size in a clear plastic label all the way down.
Oh no.
He was really, really clothes proud. Like he had to have the nicest named shirts and trousers, and he'd have hated for anybody to think that he had new stuff on. It had to be like he just had it.
Wardrobe.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Anyway, I remember I took a picture of it and put it on my Facebook, and like we're laughing at him but he'd been out all night in them, and I was dead glad. I was so glad because he'd not got home till a ridiculous time.
You had that little smugness of, at least your label was on your clothes all night.
Yeah, and then plastered it all over Facebook.
Nothing malicious there then. Come on, talk about other labels.
Right, we had a bit of a chat about this the other day, didn't we? About labels and how, like, everything's going label mad. Like, we feel like we've got to label everything. And what I'd noticed was that, like, people are going on Instagram or social media, and it's really cool to be like, to take pictures of your bits that normally once you wouldn't have liked anybody to see, right? So, like,
your boobs, get your boobs out. That's what she's
yeah, like, yeah, and like people are showing like the cellulite and the rolls of fat and what have you, right? Which is fine. If they want to do that, that's absolutely fine. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know whether that means I'm not comfortable with myself, but it's not something that I'm necessarily that asked about doing now.
I wouldn't do it either.
I don't feel the need to show everybody, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's about removing stigma. But what I'm finding is that, yeah, it's great that people are trying to remove the stigma and saying this is what we really look like. But people are getting like shamed for looking good.
Oh, well, you know that Rebel, the actress?
Yeah, I love her as well.
She's been absolutely shamed, apparently, according to what my daughter told me, for losing something like 5 stone during lockdown. It was a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Shame, because other larger ladies have said, we looked up to you for being a larger actress and now you've gone and ruined it and all this. And I think it's wrong. If she wants to do something, if she wants to stay big, let her stay big, great. If she wants to get small, why not? Why should she not be allowed?
It's really hard. And I just think, you know, and what people kind of do, or what I've noticed, is people are putting pictures up and saying, this is real, unlike, you know, these pictures. And I get it. I don't think the world should be full of airbrushed, so I completely do understand it, and I get it. We do want real people, but let's not shame people for looking good either. Like, how do you it's the same thing, and I just think it just makes me really sad. I just think the world is so weird at the moment. We've got to label everything, like everything, and by labeling things, are we not then excluding things as well? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know where I sit anymore.
No, I completely get it, because, you know, I'll be honest, I'm doing research and reading around anti-racism because I really don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, Lisa. I don't. And it's not that I'm ignorant, although maybe I am, because some people say I am.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. I think you will get called ignorant because you don't know that. When all, like, with the Black Lives Matter, and we was like, oh my gosh, what do we do here? Because
we didn't know what to do, did we?
We genuinely did not know what to do when people were posting the black squares, and then people weren't necessarily knowing what to do. And then you've got people saying, listen, but be quiet. You've got people saying, put like, follow these, but can you do it quietly and not comment? And that,
and then you've got the people direct people to these groups. It is hard to know, and I think that we both said we don't understand it enough to do anything. We're just going to carry on being ourselves, and that we could get called.
Well, we did. I had a conversation with somebody, and I was like, I just didn't know what to do, so I kind of stepped out of it. And I know somebody that we know got actually kind of shamed for trying to say, I don't know what to do, so I'm stepping out of it and I'm going to do my research. And then they got called for like, oh, you've made it about you and not about the thing, but then they didn't know what to do. And it's just so confusing. And it's like, by saying you don't know, you're being classed as ignorant. And in all honesty, did I pick up any of them books? I haven't.
No. But do you know what it is, though, Lisa?
Well, I was shit at history.
Well, I don't know whether this is ignorance as well, right? But it's hard for me to articulate it, if I'm honest, because I could be getting myself in a big hole here now by even saying it. But because I've never really recognised discrimination, and that could be white privilege, get it, right? But because my friendship group, you know, I've never had just white friends. That's never been me. My group at university, every single one of us our origins, our roots, our family background was of a different culture, every single one of us. So because I've always just lived like that and accepted that that's the way that everybody else is, to a certain extent, that has made me ignorant, because I didn't realize it was as big
Yeah, it is.
as saying it is. And it is to do with your environment and your life and the way you're brought up. I find labels incredibly, incredibly hard now to deal with.
I do.
A lot of work to be done. There is a lot of work to be done, and there's
With everything though, and that's like so many. You know, again, no, I don't really want to say who it is, but somebody I know, their son has actually removed their own name and called themselves like a colour.
name of colour.
And yeah, like
an actual colour, was in purple, black, white, red,
grey. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So an actual colour, because they didn't want to be labelled, and like.
I thought you meant as in giving themselves a name of culturally that belongs.
Oh, of culture, no, like an actual name of colour, like a colour, because they didn't want to be labelled. And again, that is learning. Again, because that's something that I've not necessarily understood, and I think there's just so much to learn. There is always a lot to learn about everything.
And I think we've got to remember that, just generationally, there is naturally ignorance.
Yeah.
Depending on when you were brought up, depending on where you were brought up, depending on your childhood experiences. Like I say, because of my teenage experiences and my friends being from so diverse backgrounds,
yeah,
and never having issues between us, it seemed very alien to me that any person has been subjected to the hate that some people have been subjected to. So
yeah,
it made me ignorant. It is hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
And I think that the main message we want to get across here is that we just struggle with labels.
yeah, we do. We do. And now I feel really, honestly, I feel really bad now.
Guilty.
Yeah. I've like just thinking about it, because obviously we started with alcoholic then, and we didn't. This is me and you all over. If anybody's listening, I hope people are. But this is how our conversations go in general on the phone, isn't it? And we end up like starting with one thing and ending with something else. And now I genuinely feel so shit for not knowing, and I do feel really ignorant.
But maybe that's a good thing to come out of this conversation, because it'll spark curiosity in you, in me, because I feel like I need to go and read up.
Yeah, I do. Like,
isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing.
And hopefully people who are listening will think, oh, you know what, they've got a point there. I don't know much about it either. And we're not trying to push an agenda here.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. That's like the last thing we want to do.
Yeah, but for us, I agree. It's just having this conversation and realising how many holes are in it has made me want to know a bit more. So it's a good thing. It's good to have the conversations.
Yeah, it is good to have the conversations.
Do you know what I'd really like? In honesty, I would really like to get people from ethnic minority groups onto our podcast.
Yeah.
Talk about what being sober, particularly being sober, is like in the different cultures and different communities.
Absolutely.
Very worthwhile.
Yeah, because sometimes it's easy to think, that because of how we stop drinking, and our own issues or dependencies around it, there's genuine reasons and cultural reasons why people don't drink as well. And I think that would be really interesting.
Especially if they developed, and I'm thinking specifically here about Islamic religion, namely because my auntie is married to a Muslim.
Yeah.
And the shame around alcohol dependency in that culture.
Yeah.
Especially it would be fantastic to hear from somebody, not that it's good for them, but it would be great to hear from somebody who's recovered from that kind of situation. We use recovery word there.
Yeah.
See what that experience was like, because I bet it's not been as positive as we found it.
No. It's where also I was thinking about Mormon like the Mormon religion, because
Yeah.
I know, you know, one of my best friends growing up was Mormon, and it was
Yeah.
just so like they were never ever going to drink. And I remember like sat there and I'd have a bottle of White Lightning and they'd have a bottle of Coke, because that was just as bad in their eyes from a very, very young age. It was like alcohol was just an absolute never ever.
No, yeah.
But they were being rebellious by like drinking loads of caffeine. And what I found is like she knew all that I am only just learning when we were teenagers. Why didn't I listen to her? Like, why did I not listen?
What did you think at the time? Did you think, oh, she's being boring?
No, never.
Never. So
No.
does it show you if it's done in the right way and you're educated in the right way?
Yeah.
Think that.
No, I massively, massively respected it. And even when we were younger, if anybody tried to get a drinking, because there was occasions when people would say, go on, why are you not having one? Go on.
Yeah.
I would have been, because I was a bit gobby as a teenager, the first one to stand up for and say, don't you ask her.
You was a bit gobby. You were a bit gobby as a teenager.
Just only a little bit, but I stuck up for people. I was gobby to people that deserved it.
You're not now, are you?
No. No, but we did have this conversation that I've gone really opinionated and I need to cool it a little bit. I am aware of this.
I don't think you're really opinionated.
No, I have. It's because I'm single now and nobody talks me round. So what I say is right because nobody tells me I'm not.
Yeah, she's just pushed her opinion on me and said, no, I am opinionated.
Yeah, I am a bit, and I think I was when I was a teenager, but I didn't like people being not nice to people. So I used to get myself in trouble by sticking up for people. That's the only time I ever really did get into trouble. I'd never ever start anything, but I'd finish it.
Yeah, I might not start this, but I'll sure as hell finish it.
Yeah, and it never did me any favors. I've got to admit, it didn't really.
So how do we feel about this episode? Do we feel a bit kind of weird now?
I genuinely feel really nervous because I didn't realise how much I didn't know about it. And I just want to be really honest and be like, yeah, I'm really nervous of like,
I am.
We might get like you ignorant set of.
Are we putting it out? Are people going to?
Yeah, we're going to do it because you know what?
Isn't it? You know what? Showing the fact that, and I'm saying ignorance in terms of our lack of awareness and lack of knowledge, showing that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, because we've kind of been concentrating for the last few years on sobriety and removing the stigma around sobriety. So when that kind of came up, it hit us and we were like, oh my gosh. And a part of me really struggles because there is so many labels and not labels and things to be working
things you're allowed to say, things you're not allowed to say.
Yeah, how can we fight everything? We personally can't. Can we be aware of everything? No. Can we? You know,
what are the rules anyway? You know, like,
I don't know the rules. Like I need a set of rules.
I don't know the rules.
I don't.
I always understand causes. Like I always understand causes. Like I understand a lot of the statues being torn down because they do represent a horrific period in history for some people.
Yeah.
But I also feel attached to it in a very kind of, oh, but that's a bit of our heritage. And that stuff did happen. So why are we... It's very, you know what I mean? Not why are we taking it down? Because I think it should come down, by the way. I do.
Yeah.
Down.
It's just really difficult, Alex, I think. We can't, like, if I'm really honest, and maybe somebody might want to change my mind on this, do we not all need to be maybe passionate about different things so we can fight for them causes? You can't split yourself everywhere and be like, dum, dum, dum. You know, because I really believe in protesting and fighting for what you believe in. I absolutely do. But we can't all do it for everything because then nothing would ever get done, would it?
No, I think you're right. We're putting this out there.
Yeah.
You are now hearing a genuine, awkward conversation that we kind of have in the background. Regularly, we have conversations like this. We put ourselves in knots. then we'll say things like, oh, good job that went on a podcast.
Yeah, we say that a lot. You know, or sometimes we'll be like, oh, that should have been a podcast.
Yeah. So this is going out there. Let us know what you think.
Or don't.
No, let us know.
No, don't let me know. Let Alex know.
On that note, are we going to go?
Yeah, we're going to go. Let's do it. I've got something bubbling away over there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right then, everyone. You take care, and we will see you next week.
Unless we've been taken off air. Goodbye.
We could have been. Bye.